Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Sri Gaura and Sri Gauranga. Today we're going to be discussing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28, Text 20 and 21. We'll start with reading the verses and the synonyms and translation and the purport, and then we'll have some discussion on the verses. So the first one is 328.20. We'll do the recitation of the verse. Tasmin laptha padam chittam sarva vayava samsthitam vilakshye tetra samyujyat ange bhagavato munihi. Synonyms: tasmin, on the form of the Lord. Labdha padam, fixed. Chittam, the mind. Sarva, all. Avayava, limbs. Samsthitam, fixed upon. Vilakshya, having distinguished. Ekatra, in one place. Samyujyat, to fix the mind. Ange, on each limb. Bhagavataha, of the Lord. Munihi, the sage. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord. Purport: the word Muni is very significant. Muni means one who is very expert in mental speculation or in thinking, feeling, and willing. He is not mentioned here as a devotee or a yogi. Those who try to meditate on the form of the Lord are called munis, or less intelligent, whereas those who render actual service to the Lord are called bhakti yogis. The thought process described below is for the education of the muni. In order to convince the yogi that the absolute truth or Supreme Personality of Godhead is never impersonal at any time, the following verses prescribe observing the Lord in his personal form, limb after limb. To think of the Lord as a whole may sometimes be impersonal. Therefore, it is recommended here that one first think of his lotus feet, then his ankles, then the thighs, then the waist, then the chest, then the neck, then the face, and so on. One should begin from the lotus feet and gradually rise to the upper limbs of the transcendental body of the Lord. We're in text 21. Sanchitayet bhagavatas charanarvindam vajrankusha dhvaja saro ruha lanchanadhyam uttungarakta vilasannakha chakravala Josna bhirahat mahadrihayantakaram. Synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sanchitayet, he should concentrate, Bhagavataha, of the Lord. Charanarvindam, on the lotus feet. Vajra, thunderbolt. Ankusha, goad. Rod for driving elephants. Dhvaja, banner. Saroruha, lotus. Lanchana, marks. Adhyam, adorned with. Uttunga, prominent. Rakta, red. Vilasat, brilliant. Nakha, nails. Chakravala, the circle of the moon. Josnabhihi, with splendor. Ahata, dispelled. Mahat, thick. Hridaya, of the heart. Antagaram, darkness. Translation: the devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of a thunderbolt, a goad, a banner, and a lotus. The splendor of their beautiful ruby nails resembles the orb of the moon and dispels the thick gloom of one's heart. Purport: the Mayavadi says that because one is unable to fix his mind on the impersonal existence of the absolute truth, one can imagine any form he likes and fix his mind on that imaginary form. But such a process is not recommended here. Imagination is always imagination and results only in further imagination. A concrete description of the eternal form of the Lord is given here. The Lord's soul is depicted with distinctive lines resembling a thunderbolt, a flag, a lotus flower, and a goat. The luster of his toenails, which are brilliantly prominent, resembles the light of the moon. If a yogi looks upon the marks of the Lord's soul and on the blazing brilliance of his nails, then he can be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence. This liberation is not achieved by mental speculation, but by seeing the light emanating from the lustrous toenails of the Lord. In other words, one has to fix his mind first on the lotus feet of the Lord if he wants to be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence. Okay, so again, thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to speak something on this transcendental subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I will try to repeat what I have heard, and also this will be for my own purification. And, you know, the verses that I have today, I've always had a desire to learn about, you know, and I've been just keeping it, you know, putting it off for a while. And today, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and devotees, and of course, Radha Shamsundar, I was given this verse. So definitely this is a reciprocation of, from Radha Shamsundar. So with that, we'll start the prayers first. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mahavishnu Shri Chaitanya Maha. Oh Krishna, I'm
Manobhishtam.
Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So this section that we are discussing today is basically where Lord Kapil Deva instructs his mother Devahuti on the process of meditation. And this chapter is really famous for laying out the mechanics of Jnana Yoga. And that's a methodical meditation on the personal form of the Lord. And again, we read in the purport that this is for the Muni. So it's not for the devotees. Devotees really do the more of the, you know, more of the devotional service to the Lord. But, you know, at least for the yogis, the Munihi, they have to have some kind of focus. But, you know, I was trying to understand this, and, you know, even for devotees, I feel it is very important. And we'll see why it's also very important to really have a focus of, you know, try to meditate on the Lord's form limb by limb. So, again, just in verses 20 and 21, the focus really shifts from how one should begin this meditation. And it's not just some, you know, abstract idea, but it is a progressive visualization of the Lord's transcendental form, which starts from his lotus feet and then gradually rising upward. So I was wondering, you know, why do we do this meditation of Lord's transcendental form, or why it's important? And it is because, you know, this practice really, even for devotees, it trains the mind to appreciate the Lord's beauty and the qualities and reality, which really clears our ignorance, and it awakens the devotion in our hearts, within our hearts when we have this meditation limb by limb. So in verse 20, it says that in fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord. So this is a very profound instruction because it really helps us, not just, we shouldn't see the Lord as just a blur. Like we shouldn't see the Lord as this is Radha Shamsundar. It's not just that, but rather we should, fix our mind limb by limb, starting from the lotus feet. Because, even in generalized materialistic idea, if we see, right, if someone is a painter, when someone just sees a painting as a whole, they are very neophyte, so to speak. They don't understand the depth of this painting. But on the same painting for a painter, he would take care of the minute details of the painting by the what kind of mix of the colors that he should do, or the painting has, the quality of paper that it's on, each of the brush strokes, it is thoroughly taken into consideration by a person who's a true painter. So of course, people who are not painters, as I said, right, they just see the whole painting and they don't really appreciate the details of the painting. Because so when we look at the Lord's form as just the Lord, whole, it kind of, it doesn't let our minds get observed, or the smriti, the smaranam, it doesn't help us remember the Lord. So another example also is for, just a mundane example is when someone's falling in love with someone, right? They don't just look at the person as a whole and decide that they love them, but rather they try to really understand the thought of this other person, their likes, their dislikes. Each and every detail of this other person is considered before the heart really feels some affection for someone else. So we understand that we have to really meditate now on each limb of the Lord. And why it's important is because this mind is really restless, and it gets distracted when we give so much at once. So when we see the Lord's form, it doesn't really absorb anything, right? So the process of focusing on one limb at a time, it really sharpens our attention on the Lord, and it increases our absorption to the Lord. And also then by lingering on each of the parts of the Lord's form, we really develop this veneration and aesthetic appreciation and this personal relationship with the Lord. And this is a practical meditation, process, not just a sentiment. And Srila Prabhupada also notes that in this, as I said, this method is given to the munis, which are those who are engaged in mental discipline. But ultimately, this also leads one to bhakti, which is the stage of loving service. Because as I have said before, that this helps the devotee really do the remember or smaranam of the Lord. And verse 21, it really starts by talking about meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. That the devotee should first concentrate his mind on the lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of a thunderbolt, a goad, a banner, and a lotus. And the splendor of their beautiful, beautiful ruby nails resembles the orb of the moon, and it dispels the thick gloom of one's heart. So, this verse really provides the first anchor of the meditation, which is the lotus feet of the Lord. So, why do we start with this lotus feet? It's because the feet are, considered the foundation of bhakti. And in fact, we've seen in many prayers that the devotees just beg for a touch of the Lord's feet, or even, just on the other, we are begging for the dust of the lotus feet of even Vaishnavas. So that the feet is very important, basically. And it is important to really understand that there are different marks on the feet. So when we're meditating on the feet, these different marks, Prabhupada has really, described in this verse 21, the thunderbolt, gold, banner, and lotus. And they're not just symbolic inventions, but really they're the eternal features of the spiritual body of the Lord. And the toenails, shining like the moonlight, are said to dispel the darkness of ignorance. So Prabhupada again writes that this liberation in the purport, that this liberation is not achieved by mental speculation, but by seeing the light emanating from the lustrous toenails of the Lord. So now I just wanted to really spend most of my time on these lotus marks on the lotus feet of the Lord. This is something that I've always been, I've heard many times of all these different marks, but I really and heard what they symbolize, but really it didn't stick to me. Not that it's going to stick to me completely at this point either, but I really wanted to just discuss these marks, and these marks are specifically from Padma Purana and Anand Vrindavan Champu, and then there's also some parts of it which are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So total, there are 30 auspicious marks on the Lord's feet, and the 11 marks are on his right foot, and the 19 are on the left foot. So we'll discuss, all of these marks, and this is where we're going to spend most of our time. And I know we're at almost time, so we're going to try to go through it pretty quick. So just to start off with, there are 10 marks that are same on both of the feet. So on the right foot and the left foot, we'll go through the 10 marks that are on both feet first. So the first is this Ankusha, or this elephant goad. And it symbolizes Krishna's power to control the mind and senses. So it's basically the control over mind and senses is what it represents, this Ankusha or this elephant goad. Then there's on both feet, there's Dhwaja, or the flag. And this represents victory, and it's particularly the Lord's triumph over material nature of Maya. So it's the victory over sovereignty. Then on the other mark on both of the feet is this chakra, or this disc. And this really represents the time and the power to destroy illusion. It's the protector of dharma, and it cuts down. So when we meditate on this, right, it cuts down our demonic tendencies, and it protects, the Lord is protecting it symbolizes the Lord protecting the devotees. And then there's Shankha, or this conch shell. And just, meditating on this, the sound of Krishna's conch really destroys our ignorance and invites surrender. So it's the call to devotion and spiritual awakening for the devotees. Then there's lotus. Lotus is Kamala, and this really denotes the purity and the Lord's beauty. It's the transcendental beauty and shelter, and this basically, it's the Lord's loving nature which it symbolizes. And even though the Lord comes in this world, he still remains untouched by this material mode. So this is how the lotus is, it's in the middle of this muddy water, but it is still pure, and it is still being offered to the feet of the lotus, the feet of the Lord. Then there's cow hoof, or the goat foot. And this on both foot, it symbolizes that Krishna as the protector of the cows, and it gives dharma. So it gives the love for the cows and the pastoral beauty of Vrindavan. So this is what we can, really understand when we meditate on the cow hoof on the footprints of the Lord. Then there's barley corn, and that is the symbol of prosperity and auspiciousness, and it's nourishment and growth It symbolizes nourishment and growth. Then there is moon, or this half moon, and it symbolizes and it cools the minds of devotees, and it represents Krishna's soothing nature. So it's for soothing presence and protection of the Lord. So this is what we can understand when we meditate on this half moon mark on the feet of the Lord. And then there is fish on both feet, and this represents the salvation of the devotees, because the fish never leaves water, and just like the devotees never leave Krishna. So this is representing the devotion and this constant remembrance of the Lord. And then there is thunderbolt, or this vajra, and it symbolizes this firmness in spiritual practices and Krishna's powerful protection. It destroys the ignorance and obstacles, and it represents spiritual strength. So these are the 10 marks that are on both of the feet. So one additional mark, which is on the right foot of the Lord, is this asi, or sword. And this is symbolizing that it cuts through the ignorance that we have and our false ego. And then, so those were all the marks on the right feet, which were the 10 of them, or 11 of them, 10, which is on both, and 1 of asi, which is on the right foot. Then there's 19 marks on his left foot. So we discussed the 10 of them, but now there's 9 more. So the 9 more that are on the left foot is, one is umbrella, which it denotes shelter and protection. Then there's earrings, which signifies the beauty and Krishna's charming nature. Then there's also a bow, which symbolizes this readiness to protect devotees and destroy evil. Then there's triangle, and it represents the 3 gunas, from this material world, and how they are under the Krishna's control. Then there's kalasha, or this pot, and that's like it represents the abundance or nectar of immortality. Then there's club, which is represents Krishna's power and force against evil. The other one is flower, which is a symbol of beauty and gentleness of the nature of Krishna again. Then there's plow, and that's the connection with Balrama, or the Guru, the Adi Guru, and Krishna's pastoral activities. And then there's swastika, and that represents the auspiciousness and eternal well-being. And so these constitute the 19 marks on the left foot of the Lord. So 10 that were on both, plus these 9 that we just discussed. So now, why did I talk about these marks, and why are they important in devotional life? Well, it is because it helps us by having this meditative focus, and it helps us fix the mind on these marks. When we fix the mind on these marks and understand their symbolism, it deepens our attachment to Krishna and his form. Again, as I said, remembrance. And then it also gives spiritual protection, because they're said to protect devotees from illusion, sin, and obstacles on the path of bhakti. And then they also, help us. It's a gateway to Krishna's heart, because by taking shelter of his lotus feet, one eventually attains access to his face, smile, and all the loving pastimes and leelas, right? Basically, in Vrindavan, Dwarka, and everywhere. So again, it helps us remember his pastimes. And also, these marks, by meditation on these marks, how it helps in devotional life is that it reminds us of his divine qualities like, compassion, control, beauty, power, and transcendence. So these were just some of the things that I really wanted to speak about, which, as I said, again, I also had always wanted to learn a little deeper. And I've heard these many times in different lectures, but it doesn't stick to you until you actually start checking and then looking it up by yourself, And of course, I'm not gonna remember all of these by heart even yet, right? But at least now there is, I've got this Kali Yuga memory, but at least I have this in my notes so that I can refer back easily when I need to refer back instead of trying to search, where I can find this in the different lectures. So, next time I just wanted to really close by this, this understanding that when we see the Lord's beautiful Vigraha, Radha Shamsundar's Vigraha, remember to start our meditation by seeing the lotus feet and knowing these symbols and what they represent. And even just in general, right, it helps you focus on the Lord's remembrance and his pastimes and the nature that he has, and of course, how we can surrender to the Lord. Also, it helps us surrender by remembering the Lord constantly. So with this, I would like to end. And if anyone has any corrections or any kind of realizations or sharing, please share. Thank you so much again for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mathaji. Thank you so much for sharing the symbols on the lotus feet of the Lord and what they represent. So it's very nice meditation. But I was generally, when I take the darshan of the deity form of the Lord, I mean, I try to remember. I mean, each parts what is here. I mean, Radharani and Krishna are wearing, or what kind of ornaments are there. I mean, we try to meditate, but then after a few minutes, again, by the time we come to lotus face, we'll forget what is there on the lotus feet. I mean, it's very difficult for me to remember. It's very, yeah. I mean, of course, this. Yeah, I was just thinking when you started that the class, I was just thinking about it. I mean, will be able to remember the form of the Lord, right? At least keep that in my mind. So, I don't know if you have any suggestions or anything. So.
Yeah, I think just I know as we all have these distractions of our mind, right? And that's why we can't really have a good focus. And this is what I've just what I have noticed for myself, and I'm just sharing what and if you ask someone else, they might have a different and more clear answer for you, Prabhu. But at least I'll try my best to tell you what I feel. So because of the distraction of the mind, I feel that I'm not able to have that focus. But when we really have this meditation of when we look at the deity form and we understand we look at the feet first, right? And when we look at the feet, remembering these different marks and what they symbolize, really, and overall, what I before I even had this first is. What I always used to remember is that, this cuts the material desires, we always hear that's like one common or the main point that when we start focusing on the lotus feet and when we meditate on the lotus feet, we, all our material desires get destroyed. And, we can have this, this love or focus towards Krishna and spirituality. So at least when I start focusing, that is my meditation that, please cut down my material desires and never let me fall into Maya. Of course, we're always in Maya. We're only going sometimes in spiritual, in the devotional service. But that is my meditation. And when I have that meditation, it really does, help you have the focus. And you, when we meditate, we shouldn't just do darshan quickly and then just go away. I know sometimes we have so many different services that a lot of times we do this, but I've noticed, at least for myself, that when you really focus and really forget everything else, and when you're in front of the Lord, just focus on the Lord's feet and every paraphernalia, as you said, right? The beautiful garlands that they have, the beautiful, shringars that they have. When you have this kind of, meditation, it also helps you focus. So the point is that our mind is always very distracted. Just go and take the time to look at the feet and go from feet up and remember what they mean, what it means, that this is this is supposed to help me, cleanse out of my material desires. And Krishna's, that's the power of the feet. And then this also the shine. I think we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, the shine on the nail of the foot is like this moon. So when you start connecting what you read and when you see the Vigraha of the Lord, you kind of have a more focused attention on the Vigraha versus the distraction of us, doing darshan and going away. That's just some of the things that I was thinking of, Prabhu, when you mentioned this. So I'm not sure if it really helps, but just wanted to thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Okay, if we have no other comments, we can end, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavendra ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki